Guys, it's Ange McDonald here, and I am really fortunate to be interviewing the wonderful Lucy Carter. She is going to be sharing with us just her journey as an entrepreneur. It's a really awesome story that she's about to share with how she got started on her journey and down that track. And Lucy is from the UK originally. What part of the UK are you from, Lucy? Just so...
I'm from Kent, so like the southeast coast of England, yeah.
There we go. And now Lucy is based in Perth with her wonderful man, and has put her stakes down to be living in Australia. So Lucy, can you share with us just a little bit about how you started your, I suppose, your entrepreneurial journey, and why you sort of fell into that? So what was the thinking around it? And any sort of, I suppose, challenges that you may have faced throughout that period.
Yeah. Sure. Well, hi everyone. Thanks for having me, Ange. So basically, my entrepreneurial journey started from quite a young age. When I was very, very young, my passion for makeup began, and beauty, and I used to watch my older cousin get ready for nights out and stuff, and just be in awe of like the transformation. And I just remember thinking, like, you know, as I was growing up, like, I want to do that. I want to make people like feel like that and look like that. So over time, I, you know, dabbled in makeup and did my friends and worked on my own, and just, yeah, kind of taught myself how to do it. Probably doesn't look as great. Like if I look back on photos now, it wasn't that great, but I taught myself.
We all start somewhere,
don't we? We all start somewhere. But yeah, so I decided to just, you know, sort of take it to the next level, not just do my friends' makeup. And I reached out to, when I was about 17 or 18, I reached out to a photographer in my hometown, and I said, look, I really want to get into, you know, working in on photo shoots and stuff. I'm happy to work for X amount, and, you know, I'm just starting out and I'm amateur. Would you be happy to, you know, have me along and do makeup for your photo shoots? And he was like, sure. So then I started working with him, and then from there I worked with another company as well. And then in that time, it was sort of a bit of a hobby. I didn't sort of take it into a full-blown business. I didn't really know how to at the time. And being quite young, you know, you're out partying and not taking life too seriously.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just used to do it on the weekends. And I actually got an admin job at the time. I was working on a temporary basis most of the time, because work at that point in my hometown was really hard to come by. So I was working in a lot of temp jobs doing admin, and I hated it. I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't, you know, I'd be excited for the weekends to come when I'd have my makeup jobs, and I just knew it, like admin, that side of it just wasn't for me. And then I decided to move to Australia. My sister was here first, and I came out on a holiday and loved it, and then decided when I came back home to England, I was like, yeah, I've got to find a way out. I just got to get out of this. So I just knew I had to do my admin job for a bit longer, and then shimmy on out of there. So that's what happened. I just, you know, I sold my car and other bits and pieces that I had just to make ends meet for me to actually just move to Australia. And then I travelled for a bit. So I didn't really do too much with my business. But when I decided to actually stay and, you know, stick roots here in Ausland, I kind of got back into the makeup side of things, and decided to reignite my business. And when I moved to Melbourne, so I was probably around, I'm going to say between 24 and 26, I can't quite remember. But between 24 and 26 is when I actually, you know, took this to the next level and was like, right, I'm going to do my website. So I built my own website. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it anyway. I just Googled everything.
Wow.
And yeah, so I built my website, and then I just started, I suppose, speaking to people and networking, and made a Facebook page and all that kind of stuff. And then it just kind of sort of went from there. But talking about the challenge side of it, Ange, like, as I said, I just jumped in head first. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have anyone around me that was really in a similar business, I suppose. So I had no formal concept of like how to start a business. Like I just did not know what I was doing, but I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I just knew that I didn't want to go back to admin. I hated it. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I wanted to be my own boss. I just had to make it work. So by doing that though, by actually just jumping into something without any sort of foundations or knowledge or help or support from anyone, you know, I came across a lot of hurdles, and a lot of those hurdles were to do with my own self-belief, which I didn't realize at the time, because you kind of just blame everything else, like that's not working because of that, and you know, you start putting it onto everything else instead of actually looking within yourself and going, what am I doing wrong here? What do I need to change? And what's stopping me from actually going to, you know, the next level? So for me, a lot of self-growth happened after a bit of a personal kind of, what do you want to call it? It was just craziness at the time. There was a lot of drama happening within my family and stuff. And I had to take a moment to go, who's at fault here? Why am I blaming other people? And how can I look at this in a different light? And from doing that, it was actually from a book that I read. It was called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And I read this book, and it was like completely life-changing for me. And I actually understood, you know, why I do the things I do, and why those blocks are in my way. And I learned to let go of certain things in order to let other things in. And it was a life-changing experience for me. And that's when, you know, I felt a massive shift within my business, hugely.
Right.
Because, you know, I would be putting blame onto things like, oh, you know, that client didn't message me back though, or, you know, it would be like just stupid things like that, where it's like, well, no, you didn't actually do this yourself, or, you know, the way you worded that could have been different, or you ignored them, or it was like just stupid things that you actually just put blame on, instead of just going, well, how could I have done that differently, and actually learning from that experience. So that was a huge transitional moment for me in my entrepreneurial journey, because I used to sit in self-pity a lot, I think, and be like, why is this not working for me? Why am I not getting clients? And, you know, it was a lot of that. And, you know, and not having that support around me for somebody, you know, from other entrepreneurs going, well, this is why this is happening, and you need to keep doing this, and having that, you know, kick up the butt to keep you going. I didn't have any of that. And to be honest, that many years ago, I didn't know mentoring really existed. I didn't really know it was a thing. It wasn't like a huge thing like it is now. Like, you know, you can find a mentor anywhere you want, a life coach, whatever, like counselor online. Back then it wasn't so, I don't believe, from what I knew, that was really even a thing. So not being aware of having that help, or having a platform that can actually help you achieve that success, was not even in my vocabulary. I didn't know I could do it.
You really had a road of just discovering and nudging those things. I think you mentioned, we were just chatting before about, you know, work harder on yourself, or, you know, if you've got personal problems, they'll be definitely showing up in your business side of things, or any sort of underlying thing that you need to work on. And obviously that came up for you, but you were open enough to actually really grab it, to level up. So
it took a bit of it took a wake up call, I'd call it, for me to experience that. But what I believe is, like, don't wait for your wake up call, just build that knowledge base, do it anyway. Like, you know, read books, or expand your, you know, worldview on life and on business and on people. Like, I think don't just wait for something shit to happen in order to make a change. Because although it's like that shit thing will make you make a change, like, of some, you know, either a good change or a bad change, but like, just why wait for that? If this is something that you're kind of like feeling like something's not sitting right, just do it anyway. Like, don't wait for to have a bike accident or to,
Crisis. Yes.
crisis. Yeah, a crisis. Like, don't wait for that. Just
Doesn't need
get
to
it
get to
done.
that point. Yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree. Well, you are totally a go-getter. Like, you are seriously, like, from that young age, the initiative to reach out and just start your journey, following your passion. I really take the hat off to you, Lucy. And at that point where you've sort of moved through that crisis, sort of what sort of came out of that for you, in the respect of how did that sort of re-navigate you within your business, and what were you feeling throughout that period? Like, what was the feeling for you?
Yeah. So how did I navigate it? I obviously, self-growth was a huge, massive thing. Self-development, working on myself and getting that right first,
Yes.
Was really important to me. And actually, just focusing on my mindset and my mind shift in order to be able to up a gear. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have the right mindset, if you're all over the shop, then you can't transition, you can't evolve. Like, it's just really difficult. So really focusing on that, building those foundations first was, first and foremost to me. But even in that time, after I'd sort of built on my self-development, my confidence was not very great. I'd had a lot of confidence issues, and money was like pretty tight at the time. Because I was focusing on myself and working on myself. So I just was like, I need to get out of this, but how can I do it? So my, the only go-to option you have at the time is, I just have to go get a 9 till 5. Like, I just have to go and do something that's going to give me money straight away. So that's what I did. I actually went back into the admin world. The thing that I never wanted to go back into, I went back into when I was living in Melbourne. And I said, I'm just going to do it for 6 months to a year, because I just wanted to save a certain amount of money, right? And I wanted to go back to England to visit my mum and dad, and I wanted to go to Europe. And it served a purpose. It definitely did. And I learned a lot from going back into that role. But I just sat there and I used to think, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I here? And 2 years nearly went by before I actually got
quickly, doesn't it? Yeah.
Before I actually got out of that role. But in the meantime, when I was actually working in that job, I was working on my business, and my focus wasn't with the job as much as I did my job, but it wasn't there. I just wasn't aligned with it. So I definitely learned that through that transition, that I knew that working for somebody else wasn't for me. I just remember thinking, I have to ask to go on holiday. I have to tell people when I'm sick. Like, I just used to frustrate me so much. Like, I like to live by my own rules, and I think that's just built within me. So I decided enough's enough. And at that point, we were moving to Perth as well, me and my partner. So I was like, this is the perfect time to actually stop actually doing that and actually just work full time on my businesses. And that's what I did. Because my makeup stuff in Melbourne was building, and it was great, and I was getting a lot of wedding work over there. And it was starting to really sort of flourish and build up. And then we were like, oh no, we're going to move to Perth now. And I was like, oh great, perfect timing. But no, it was all good. And I have to say that what you talk about a lot, and just leaning into something, and as much as that time was really scary for me, it's actually been a really awesome outcome, because moving to Perth, I've had different opportunities here, and my business has actually taken a bit of a different turn. Like, it's not so much weddings anymore, it's more just sort of events and stuff. And then through that, I've started with NSE, and because I've got sort of a bit more time, obviously I'm not working in my full-time job anymore, and then I've got a bit more time with my makeup stuff, because it's just sort of running on its own cycle, and I'm enjoying my makeup a lot more, I think. From just leaning in and just taking the opportunities as they come,
being with it. And
I think one huge thing that I learned through all my transition of self-growth and stuff is not to say yes to everything. Be strategic in what you're saying yes to, and take on the things that are going to benefit you in the long term. So even when it comes, you know, to makeup jobs, I can't just be like, I'm just going to take everything on. Like, I just have to be strategic in what I'm taking. If I can't do it, then I can't do it, and not feel bad about it. And like, you know, so that was another thing for me. Saying no was very hard for me. Very, very hard.
That is such
I hope that answered your question. I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent then.
No, very true. Honouring yourself and being able to be okay with saying no, I think it's a big thing, especially for a lot of
entrepreneurs. Because it used to make me feel anxious, like before I learned how to just be okay with saying no. The anxiousness I used to feel was so bad.
Yeah.
To get sweaty palms, I used to just be like, and then I'd start sort of what's the word? Getting defensive, like
yes, heightened by it.
Whereas now I'm just like, no, I can't do it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, fine.
Tell me, Lucy, on that note of saying yes, how did you come across NEC? What was the journey to that point? What's the how did you come across it?
Funny story, actually. I think I'd moved over to, actually, it must have just been before I moved to Perth. I'd gone over to my sister's house, and she had this contraption device thing in her bathroom. I was like, what the hell is that? Thought it was some, I don't know, something naughty. And then I was like, what is that? She's like, oh, it's like this device and it cleanses your face. And I was like, what? So she just let me try it. And I was like, this is awesome. It's so good. So the whole time I was like, if ever I went back to my sister's and stuff or stayed there, like, I'd always use it. So I kind of liked it. I knew the product. And then she was, you know, she had a few of the skincare products and I'd use them. And then my sister actually said, look, do you want to like start a business with me? And maybe we could do this together. And I was quite hesitant at first because obviously at that point, I think it was during lockdown in coronavirus, and I just moved over here like in August, and then by the February, March, it was like just mayhem. And I hadn't obviously built up my business here yet. Things were completely stalled. I had no money coming in. I was actually spending all my savings. And then I had my other business that I was working on, the Alchemy Collective, which is something we'll go into later maybe. And so I was really focused on concentrating on that. But at the time I was like, I can't do this. I don't have enough time. I've got too much on, and I'm just like, even in the middle of a lockdown when you've got nowhere to be, like, I've got no time. And so that was my first initial thought, to be honest, Ange. Like, I was just like, I don't know if I can take this on. This seems too much to start another business. But once sort of looking into it and learning and researching, and I researched the products like no end, like I'm a nerd like that. So I had to make sure that the products within this business and, you know, are in alignment with me and what I would use on a daily and what I would actually recommend to, you know, my best friend or my mum. So I really kind of delved into that side of it and loved all the sciencey shenanigans that goes on in the background, compared to, like, you know, a lot of products are just sort of pumped out of a factory. I like the fact that this was actually you know, studies were done, scientific, you know, development happened. So that was a big
tick
win for me. And then obviously I'd used the products through my sister. So I knew I wanted the cleansing device. I knew I wanted that. So I was like, okay, well, I know I definitely want to get that, but I don't know, how do I get it? Like, you know, I had no money at the time. I was just like, you know, scrimping and scraping. But my I suppose my opportunist mentality kicked in. And I was like, all right, I have to look at this with an objective view, not my personal view where emotions come in. I have to look at this with an objective view and look at this on a business level from a bird's eye point of view and go, how can I make this work for me? Is this going to be beneficial? And how can I actually make money from this? So once I started sort of looking into that and actually not looking at it on a more personal level, looking at it as actually just a business concept, and I was like, yeah, do you know what? I'm just going to give it a good go. And for me personally, knowing that you have the mentorship side of things that I never got, that was like the biggest pull as well. I was just like, oh my God, I want to help people, and I want help. Like, I never got this when I started my other businesses. Like, I never had that one-on-one, mentorship and assistance that, I wish I had. So that was another thing as to why I just leant in and went with it, because I was like, what can you lose? What is there to lose, really?
Nothing.
Everything to gain. Like, if anything, I'm going to learn stuff for my other businesses, which I've learned heaps to put in to play in my other businesses. So
you've been absolutely rocking it, Lucy. Like, just absolutely rocking it. And I just love seeing all your amazing attributes, your personal growth and all that's coming into play, and just absolutely loving seeing you fly with it. Actually, it's super cool working alongside you.
Yeah. I've had fun.
Yeah. Tell me a couple of highlights that's come out of it for you, maybe business side or personally, over that period of partnering with NSC, and what's your vision going forward with it?
Yeah.
The bigger picture. And I think share a little bit about your why would be amazing. Like, just
so my highlights so far, definitely the mentorship side of it, like having your help, Ange, and other people's support, and within the groups and stuff. Like, I just feel like I've got this, like, even on the days when you feel like you don't, or something might throw you a curveball and you're like, oh, don't know. It's like, you just get on a call, or you send a message or a voice note to you or to whoever who's your mentor or whatever. But, then you're just like, okay, mindset shift. I'm back in the game. So that for me is a huge highlight of this whole business. Like, it's next level, and stuff that you would pay thousands for if you just went out there and sourced it on your own. So I'm super grateful for that, and that is a huge highlight. And I've learned so much business wise, just like how to sort of navigate it a bit better, and sort of laying down those foundations, and actually getting out of my comfort zone has been a huge thing for me.
Could I just add one more thing, if you could just share maybe the biggest challenge that you've had with it, if anything?
The biggest challenge. Okay.
Is it the comfort zone situation, do you think, or is it what would be the biggest challenge?
That's definitely a challenge. I don't think it's the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge for me that comes up is the self-doubt of, say, a situation. Like, you may want to do something within your business or reach out to someone, and then you start telling yourself stories. I mean, I've done a lot of work on that, but it's still something that, I don't think you can ever get rid of that. I feel like it's something that is always going to show up and rear its ugly head. It's just, but that for me is my most challenging when it comes to business in general, to be fair. But it's definitely something that pops up because I am constantly with this business, like, challenging myself and growing. And it's quite a rapid development process in a sense, because you have to put yourself out there. You're networking, and I was very shy as a child. You ask my mum, like, I was so shy, like I was almost mute. Like, she was quite worried about me at one point. So from like that for me is actually a huge highlight as well, because to see myself doing these things and putting myself out there is quite remarkable when you think back to what I used to be like. And if someone sung happy birthday to me, I'd put my fingers in my ears. Like, it was literally
wow. That's huge, isn't it? Huge.
So and what was the other question now?
I suppose probably just to wrap it up, and like, what is the vision for you going forward? Like, why do you do what you do? Like, what's the
so I'll share a bit of my why. So for me, my why, or how I came to my vision and why I wake up every morning to make my business work is when, like, throughout my life, like throughout my childhood, like, my mum she's always got by. She's been one of those people that no matter what, she'll always see clothes on her back, and no matter what, like, but she's always relied on government help or she's always, you know, relied on my dad to, you know, support us to go on holidays and things like that. But it was, you know, I always had to sort of be on my dad's terms because, you know, dad was the one that was working and he was the one bringing home the bacon. So it would be like, oh, can we take the girls on holiday? And it would be like, oh, well, maybe not this time, or blah, blah, blah. So it would always have to be on somebody else's terms. And I think when I came across my actual why, when I actually was like, oh, this is it. It was that. It was like, I don't ever want to have to wait on something else or someone else in order to do the things I want to do. Like that's, to me, feels so restricted. And as I said before, I'm you know, a bit of a go-getter, and I don't like to work for somebody else, and I like to do things on my terms. So for me, I was like, that's why I do this. That's why I'm an entrepreneur, because I don't want to have to rely on something or someone else in order to be able to take my kids on holiday when I have them, or like you say, bring your family over from New Zealand, or my family over from the UK. Like, I don't want to have to be like, I've just got to wait for a Centrelink to give me my money. Like, I don't want that for my life, and I don't want that to be an example I set for my children either. I want them to know that they can actually do things on their own terms and how they want to do it, and be creative with life.
Lead by example.
Life is a big painting, and you can just create it how you want.
Love that.
Yeah, and my vision going forward is to create, you know, I'm talking about having a family soon. Like, I'm 32, and I've always said I want to be 34 when I have my first child.
There we go.
So, and I've had a few readings where I've actually been told where, you know, first child you're going to have when you're 34. I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting there. So for me personally, that's the vision I have, is to build something that allows me to have that time freedom, but also generate something that is going to bring me income whilst I'm being a parent. And I don't have to leave my kids and go to an office that I don't want to be at. And I don't want to, you know, have that feeling of restriction. I want to be able to go, you know what, if I need to have some peace and quiet and work from home, I'll just pop them in a daycare for, you know, whatever, nursery, whatever. I'll send them to nannies and granddads or whatever it is. Like, I can have that freedom of choice, but have that time, quality time, when my children are small, to be able to not worry that I'm not getting paid, or maternity leave's running out, or, you know, I don't want that pressure. So I'm working towards building something that is going to have a residual income.
Beautiful. So many people can resonate with that. Like, you know, to be able to have that flexibility to be at home with their family is huge. So that's such a great vision, Lucy. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
That's all right.
And any last words of wisdom to people that are listening in on this interview? What would be your pearls of wisdom for them?
The biggest one would be, don't let fear stop you, because fear is not our friend. Well, fear is our friend. You need to be friends with fear, but fear can really destroy any hopes and dreams. Fear can stop you in your tracks. Fear can literally just be the catalyst for, you know, not creating the life that you want. So really become friends with fear, actually, like, and embrace those uncomfortable moments, and embrace it with, you know, everything, and just be like, fear is okay. Because if I'm not feeling a little bit scared, or a little bit anxious, or a little bit like apprehensive of the unknown, then where's the excitement in life anyway? And usually those moments are when you're about to transition into something amazing, huger.
Exactly.
So just embrace the unknown, embrace fear, and go for it. Because what have you got to lose? If you're not happy, and if you're not fully content with what's going on in your life right now, then what have you got to lose?
Yeah, love that. They're great words. Just go for it. So if you're listening on this, just go for it. Chase after your dreams and goals.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how old you are when you start. That's another thing I want to say. Like, I started when I was 17, but then I stopped, and then I started again at another age, and then I kind of stopped, and then I started again. So it really doesn't matter where you're at in life. It just matters to start now when you're in the moment. So
Totally agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Lucy. That was totally inspiring listening to your journey, and looking forward to working alongside you as you translate your vision and your goals. So
Thanks, Ange.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's great.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.